Hello, everyone. As you probably know, I sent Lee a lot of Benedictine medals and two crucifixes. I sent two batches. The first batch of Benedictine medals I sent from what I already had on hand. And when it seemed like that wasn't really helping him enough, he was still having a lot of issues, I went to a website called autom.com, AUTOM, and I bought a whole bunch more Benedictine medals and another crucifix. And I got my priest friend from my seminary days to bless them for me. I didn't want a local priest to bless them because I could kind of hear and see what the priest was going to think and say. And I knew what my friend was going to think and say. And he said it anyway. Are you sure about this? Are you sure? Why would he say that? Because there's some potential issues with helping people, especially if they're claiming they have demonic attachments. And there are a couple things to consider. One, if it is demonic, you can expect blowback, and you have to be prepared for it. The second is you might be helping someone who is not genuine, and then you're basically casting pearls to swine. You're helping somebody who is just using an issue for their own personal gain in whatever way. And so you have to be careful in who you help out. Another consideration is you don't want to give these items that are blessed to someone who's not going to appreciate them. You're not going to respect them as blessed items. Some of you have experienced demonic activity before. You may have had a demonic entity in your home or in someone you know's home. And if so, you know that anybody who inserted themselves into trying to get rid of it or trying to help out in some way almost always receives some kind of blowback. And it will mess them up and discourage them from trying to help you out. So when my priest friend kind of saw what I was doing and why I was doing it, he was concerned about me. And that was his initial worry is, hey, this could come back to blow back on you and your family and your kids, and do you really want to do that if it's legit? And the answer is no. Because it's happened to me before. You know, I was in the seminary 5 years, and right when I got out of the seminary, someone that I knew told me they were having problems with demonic entities in their home, and I figured I would, because you know I'm so religious and so close to God, and I know all these deliverance prayers, that I would pray it away. And what ended up happening was my life became wrecked. Things that I was working on fell to pieces. My car, they lost all the air in its tires. Friendships were just falling to pieces. And my entire life was being driven to despair. And it was depressing, and I saw the proximity in time of when I was trying to help my friend and when my life just started to fall completely apart. So if there is something demonic happening, you may not want to get involved if you're not spiritually ready for it. There are ways to protect you. You can say lots of personal prayers for you and your family, prayers to the angels, prayers to St. Michael. You can give your family members Benedictine medals, which have exorcism blessings on them. And you can, you know, if you're Catholic, get to the sacraments regularly, confession, Mass. And you can spiritually protect yourself from any kind of blowback. But even if you do all that, it doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. It can still blow back on you. And as with anything negative that happens, you know, you can always see it as an opportunity to grow in your faith. But you may not want the blowback on your family, especially if you have issues. If you have family members with with already pre-existing issues. One thing I keep hearing and reading is when people say prayers don't work or priest blessings don't work. And my answer to that is yes, they do. They work every single time. What you're really saying is that one blessing or one priest coming into the home doesn't completely remove demonic activity, and that's true. One exorcism doesn't always free someone from being possessed, and there are reasons for that. The two things to consider are the strength of the demon, because there are different hierarchies of demons, just like there are different hierarchies of angels. They kept that same hierarchy when they fell. So you have much stronger ones and you have much weaker ones that are going to be harder to get rid of. And then also you have to consider the strength of the attachment. If somebody did some weird stuff, ritualistic stuff, sacrificing animals or babies, which happens, it's disgusting, but it happens. If there are these really strong attachments because of horrible things people did to invite in the evil, it's going to be a lot harder to get rid of it. But you can still get rid of it. It's just going to be a lot harder, and you're going to have to probably know what started the invitation so that you can direct your prayers and efforts on severing that attachment. So you may ask, why did you help Lee anyway? Because I definitely did. There are a couple of reasons. One, because I was in a similar situation, not nearly as extreme, but it was definitely demonic for years and years and years. And it took a long time, even several years into the seminary, before it finally went away. And it only went away after I was blessed, given a special blessing by a really holy priest who had started his own religious order. And really cool guy. I could probably do a whole story on him. Amazing life. But he said a prayer over me. He had been an exorcist for a while and developed a special prayer that I guess I'll mention it now. He had developed his own prayer, which is not really a Vatican prayer or a prayer that you'll find in their book, but he had a prayer where he would ask God to create a prison, and he would call it something like the prayer of the prison of the Sacred Heart, or the prison of the Immaculate Conception. He'd name it something religious, and then he would ask God to send the demons into that prison forever. So once I emailed Father Gary Thomas, you may not know him by name, but you may remember the movie The Rite with Anthony Hopkins, about a young priest who goes and tries to basically learn how to become an exorcist. The movie was based after Father Gary's actual experience in Rome. And he's an exorcist. At least he used to be. I think he teaches now. But because I kind of do this thing, I reach out to people because I'm like, why not? If they don't answer me, they don't answer me. So I found his email address and I emailed him and he responded to me. And I had asked him a couple of questions. And one of the questions I asked him was about the prayer that was said by this former priest that I used to know. And he said, well, I don't ask God to create a prison. I just send them to the feet of Jesus at the cross, which is typically what the kind of language you'll find in exorcism prayers. But I said, okay, it's not really a church. I say it's not that it's not church approved, but it's not a standard church prayer. It's not something you'll find in one of the given books. It's not that you can't say it, but that's what Father, the priest I knew, said, and something happened because I stopped having sleep paralysis. I stopped having the demonic type issues that I was having before, and I think there's something to that. So I help people because when I needed help, there was nobody around to help me. And it took me literally years, probably from my childhood into my mid to late 20s, before I found a resolution. And the resolution was with a former exorcist. So it took me a lot of learning, a lot of reading. I read so many books on hauntings and the demonic, and I wanted a real answer. But I was also, just because of what I went through, I was just fascinated with the issue in general and why it happens. And some people warned me I had an unhealthy fascination with it, so I tried to temper that. But I've learned so much about it, and then in my 5 years in seminary, learning prayers and just the nature of evil and how to combat it. And I have all this knowledge, and I'm seeing people struggle with these things. And it feels almost selfish for me to not lend a hand when I have learned so much about the topic. So maybe I need to do a better job of basically citing my credentials. Not that I'm credentialed. I'm not a demonologist, and I don't want to be a demonologist, but I do know a lot, and I feel like I could help people, at least point them in the right direction. So when I was in the seminary, I knew that priest who had been an exorcist, and I knew two others who, I don't know if they were exorcists, but they definitely helped in some exorcisms. Because usually when you have an exorcism, you have a team of priests, or you have one priest and you have different lay people, maybe a deacon, maybe a seminarian. It's never just the priest, it's always a team. So I knew these other two priests, and you always, I can't say that because maybe I'm weird. I always like to talk about ghosts and demonic stuff and angels and the supernatural type thing, but I like to talk about those stories with them and learn things. And man, there's some cool stories. There's like book material stories that these like local priests who seem boring and like Doughboys, man, they go through the craziest stuff, and it's stuff from your nightmares, and super interesting. So why did my buddy, my priest friend, warn me? He didn't want me to get in trouble. He didn't want me to waste my time. He didn't want me to have my family affected. And I didn't ignore him. I took what he said seriously because he cares, because he's a caring dude. He's my buddy. But I just want to help people. That's why I've done pretty much everything I've done. I like to help people. I hope that people who hear this will reach out to me. I have my email address on my About link, realcracklin@gmail.com. Please reach out to me if you have questions. I can send you to resources, priests, books. If you want to learn about it, there's so many resources that I've used to learn about the nature of possessions and exorcisms and hauntings and all kinds of craziness, and that are really interesting reads. So feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to help anybody who needs help. So that'll be it for now. God bless, guys.